All right, all right. So, welcome. So, right now we're just going to wait for a few people to jump on here. But in the meantime, let me introduce my special guest. This is a pediatric expert, world-renowned speaker, health professional, coach, chiropractor, and a dear friend, Dr. Stu Werner. Welcome, brother. And I'm really excited to have you here sharing your genius. So I'm really, really looking forward to hearing what you have to say here today.
It's my pleasure, Dr. Sahoury, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
That's right, brother. So right now, here we are, and we are in a state where we have this pandemic going on, and we are in the heart of it. And where we live in New Jersey is where we have New Jersey, New York, tri-state area are the vast majority of the cases, right? I know that you are also friends with some medical doctors, and one of the medical doctors is working at one of the highest COVID-19 hospitals around. So you have a lot of insight there as well. And I'm looking forward for you sharing that knowledge and that information. But let's just have you, just pour in just after you and I begin to first, anybody who's lost a loved one to COVID, or based on maybe they had a health condition and they were immunocompromised, they had metabolic syndrome, they were obese or overweight, they were a heavy smoker, whatever it may be. We pray for you and your family. So everything that we say today, we want it to come across with nothing but a great intention to open up your eyes to the possibilities of what you can do to create what we call a healthy host, and focused on strengthening the healthy host instead of focusing on the strength of the virus. And I'm going to ask everyone right now, if you can please just hit the share button. That would greatly be appreciated. If you can just hit the share button right now, that would be greatly appreciated as we begin to move forward right now with our conversation. All right, Dr. Stu, let me let you just run with it to start.
Sure. Well, everybody right now is going through a time of uncertainty, and definitely, has to be on different behaviors now than they've been accustomed to. And, like you mentioned, your heart goes out to the people affected. It is a nasty virus, and the people that it does affect, and, unfortunately many pass on. It's very real, and it's tragic. And, at the same time, though, we have to look at the decisions that our government and health officials have made on this virus. And a lot of good people, patriots, people wanting to be part of the solution, do the right thing. They're staying home. They're taking all of the precautions, and, they're being good people, and they're wanting to do what is asked of them and what is necessary so we can get through this all. But what if everything that we've been hearing from our media and a health official has been false? What if it's been a lie? What if all of, these draconian mandates that we have, what if it was based on false information? So, we have to look at where we get our information from. And, the first thing that they all said is the modeling was going to show 2.5 million people were going to die. Yes. And then, the modeling was based on faulty data put into the system and assumptions. And, that were completely wrong. But they made the decisions that they did. And, our heart goes out to all the people that, have died from COVID, but all deaths matter. Why are COVID deaths any more special than all the 40 or 50,000 people that are dying from the flu every year, or the 60,000 people a year that die from suicides, or the 50,000 people a year that die from opioids, or the 550,000 people a year that die from heart disease? So, we hear the governors and the health officials saying, every life is precious. We need to do whatever we can to save lives. And that's what's justifying doing the whole shutdown, where upwards of 40,000 people have been reported to have passed on now. So, we look at those numbers and they're pretty scary, and, we get fear based on that. But, is that accurate? We just saw a few days ago, the media was so eager to promote that 10,000 people died in New York to, create more fear. But then they showed another graphic the next day that 6,300 people died that were confirmed, and 3,700 were only presumed. So a third of the deaths that they're adding to the New York totals weren't confirmed COVID cases. But then you add to that as well that all the people that died with COVID but not from COVID were added to the total. So someone that had a stroke and then passed away and tested positive for COVID, that was included in the death numbers. A young child falls down the stairs, has head trauma, died, but tested positive for COVID. That's a COVID death. So based on what we're seeing, the actual COVID deaths are less than half of what they're telling us in the media. So, we've created all of these mandates and all of these behavioral changes based on faulty data. So we really can't trust the people that got us into this mess to get us out of the mess. And let me not just stop there, but look at all the other information that you get from them. What did all the medical experts and the health officials tell you? You have to wear masks. No, the masks aren't good. No, if you wear the mask the wrong way, it's going to cause this. Should you wash the mask? Do you touch your face more with the mask? No, the masks aren't good. They're good. They can't agree on that. How do we test for COVID? Do you just do a nasal swab, or do you do the swab? We go all the way back to the throat through the nose, or do you do a blood prick? They can't agree on that. Is the curve going to go up quick and come down quick, or is it going to go up and then plateau and then come down slow? Do the asymptomatic people, can they spread and shed the disease? But we don't know how. We're just guessing. So the whole thing is a guessing game, and we have to take back our power and live in faith and in trust in our natural abilities of our body to be well. Because the one thing we do know is that less than 1%, probably less than 0.5% of people will die from COVID-19. And that's the equivalent to an average flu season out there. And, the people that die are heavily weighted to elderly and people that are obese, have immune compromised, that have diabetes, medical.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why what you do with the sprint set is so important, because if you can correct these underlying problems, people wouldn't be susceptible to the COVID.
Yeah, let me share something on that for a second, okay? Because here's something I want to share, and based on the point that you were just talking about, there was an article that just came out, and it is COVID-19 and the elephant in the room, right? So when you begin to take a look at that, you can see right here. Hold on, where is it? There it is. Okay, so so data from the first 2204 patients admitted, right? 286 NHS ICUs with COVID-19 reveal that 72.7% of them, 72.7% of them were overweight. 72.7% of them are overweight or obese, right? Then we come down here and they talk about how, we shouldn't ignore the fact, about the foods that people are eating. When they were talking about the British diet, they're talking about ultra processed foods. 3/4 of them, of the ones who are working in the hospitals over there eat unhealthy as well. They talk about South Korea has the lowest prevalence of obesity in the world, and this could explain the low mortality as well from the virus. Then they go about and they talk about here that about metabolic syndrome, chronic metabolic disease can affect many of people who also have normal weight. So that's another issue. So metabolic issues are a big problem. And they talk about only 12.2% of American adults are considered metabolically healthy. So did you get that? That means that 87.8% of Americans have a metabolic challenge. And we have a very unhealthy country, a very, very, very unhealthy country. And we know that today, what's happening is people are living in what we call, and let me stop the share of that screen, but people are living in this state where, hey, they've been planning their health around their life and not their life around their health. And they tend to go and grab what they may call simple, quick, easy, fast food type of lifestyle, or let me just plop something onto a sandwich, or let me eat burgers and load them up with French fries and ketchup and things like that. And not saying that you can't have that from time to time, but not the majority of the time, or not eat the refined carbohydrates that are going to create insulin resistance, and not eating, a ton of, pastas, and things like that. Right. And I'm going to get more into that on a different live, which will be tomorrow. But, this right here is a big part of the problem. And in this country, we need to begin to plan our life around our health. And when we look at approaches of health, of the way that people look at it, level 1 is where we talk about the lowest level, and that lowest level is going to be treatment of disease. Level 2 is going to be what they call prevention of health. Now, what they're calling prevention right now is let's hide in your house, let's wear these masks, yes, let's wash our hands, which we should all be doing anyway, let's do social distancing 6 feet apart, where I don't even know where we came up with the 6-foot rule, okay? But, we know that that's not the solution. The big solution is promotion of health. Let's create a healthy host, right? It's not, hey, let's look for the outside in. Let's run away. Let's hide. Let's not come out with that vaccine that, they're trying to push right now, so to say, that we know they're never going to have that safety study. At least, that's my opinion. If they can come up with a true safety study based on this with a double-blind placebo study, well, we could have a different conversation, but I don't believe that's ever going to happen. Do you, Stu?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, right? So I don't see that happening. So, but meanwhile, we're pushing. And then you hear information out there talking about, well, if you get the flu vaccine, then, that's going to protect you. But then I read an article, and I'm going to share that right now. And I'll let you talk into this article because you'll be able to see it. And I know that you know this article as well that just came out. But yeah, I'm going to share this article. And this article is right here. So if you can see this article on the screen, it is talking about right here. So it says that facts, because they were talking about how the flu vaccine could be something that would help protect you, right, from the coronavirus. But meanwhile, however, the only study that we have been able to find assessing the flu shots and coronavirus is a January 2020 U.S. Pentagon study that found that the flu shot increases the risk from coronavirus by 36%. Have you read that study, Dr. Stu?
I have.
Yeah. So let's have you talk into that a bit, because I know that this is a passion of yours for safety for people and having people have the right to be pro-choice and not create a mandatory vaccine based on maybe financial interest, for certain people. And I know there's a lot of talk about Bill Gates and so on with that. But, we don't need to get into that so much. But just understanding that somebody is here trying to push that movement on what's that next thing here. But in my opinion, I would be very, very, very conscientious of that and think for a moment and go, what is really happening here? What is that agenda? Not saying or minimizing the coronavirus, because we know it is real and we know that we have been losing people. And again, we pray for those people. But we also have to take a look at what is happening to the people that are in the hospitals. What kind of kinks are they going in with? Are they overweight? Are they obese? Are they immunocompromised? Are they metabolic syndrome? Do they have hypertension? Do they have diabetes? Do they have coronary artery disease? Do they have a pulmonary challenge, right? A lung challenge going on? Do they have a renal challenge, a kidney challenge going on? Who are the people that have been admitted? And we know every life matters. So, we're always there and praying for that. But I also don't want to see us beginning to dive into something without having proper safety studies done so we can make an educated decision as a human being and not have something forced on us without true safety studies. So let's have you talk into that a bit. And please, people, please share this right now with whoever that you love and that you care about right now. Go ahead, Dr.
Sure. Well, the first thing to understand is we do not have a virus problem in this country. We have an immune deficiency crisis because people are making poor lifestyle decisions about their health. And the one thing you'll never hear on the media, never hear the health officials and the politicians tell you is any solution that does not make the pharmaceutical company money. So you will not hear any of that. And what you will hear is what makes the pharmaceutical company billions and billions of dollars. And they're talking about the COVID-19 vaccination like it's going to be a panacea. And when they talk about that, they always refer back to we need it like we need the flu vaccine. Well, if we look at the CDC's data from the last many years, the CDC has reported that the flu shot was only 9%, that's single digit, 9% effective in the target population the last many years because the virus that they developed and guess on a year and a half in advance was a mismatch to the circulating viruses. So it has a 9% effectiveness rate. Now, at its best, you probably don't know this, but most people think it's 100% effective. You get the flu shot, you're going to be protected. But the CDC says at the beginning of the season, it's going to be a 40 to 60% effective vaccine on the good years, which you don't have good years because they're always wrong about matching the vaccine.
Yeah.
The circulating virus. We're going to try to rush a coronavirus vaccine to market. And one of the things they've done is they bypassed all of the animal studies and went right into human trials. The last time they tried to come up with a corona vaccine many years ago and did the animal studies, the animals all died. So it was that unsafe and one has never been developed. And the one thing they don't do with the vaccine testing is test the intended vaccine to come to market against a inert placebo-controlled vaccine. So they test the intended vaccine against another vaccine. if that vaccine they're testing against has inherent within it a whole host of side effects and deaths, and they compare it to the new vaccine, they're going to say it's safe compared to the other vaccine. So they're lying to you about that. So the flu shot, as Dr. Sahoury was mentioning, does make you more susceptible the following year, not only to the flu, but also to the coronavirus, because it alters and weakens your immune system in a way that makes you more susceptible. So the panacea of the coronavirus that's being rushed to market, they don't know if it works. And the overall agenda is it doesn't matter if people are getting better or not getting better, if we get herd immunity, don't get herd immunity, if people are, the science is getting better, worse, the forecasting, it doesn't matter. The one thing that's going to stay the same no matter what is the agenda, and that is to mass vaccinate everybody and track everybody. That's not going to change no matter what the information and data and science is on the ground. So, if we can't trust the media and politicians, and we see that in the flu shot, if you look over the last many years, the flu shot accounts for upwards of half of all of the compensation that's being paid out to families who's had a family member injure or die from the flu shot. So there's over $1 billion that have been paid out to compensate families that got damaged or injured, died from the flu shot. So, the corona, the way they're rushing it to market, it's just a recipe for disaster.
I agree on that. I would really love to see some safety studies for the protection of the people, because you and I both know that some people aren't going to care about the safety studies, and then we're going to have a lot of damage happening to adults, and we're going to lose a lot of lives as well, and that'll be a fact. Okay, we will lose lives. And I know it's a strong statement, right? And maybe I shouldn't make a statement like that so boldly, but we know that there's been many deaths to every single vaccine that's ever been out there. So I feel confident in making a statement that there could be deaths related to that, right? In the future, right?
Absolutely.
In the future, and every life is precious. And God, just like I have these conversations with patients who have lost loved ones, and it's so it pierces my heart, because I have so much love for them, and I have love for their family. And when you hear a devastating story, I just had a great friend lose a family member who went into the hospital, and they went into the hospital, and this has nothing to do with the vaccine. This is off vaccine now. They went to the hospital for the coronavirus, and initially it wasn't for the coronavirus. They had another issue going on. So they had another issue going on. They went into the hospital. They ended up contracting the coronavirus while they were in there, but they were going into the hospital because they had some serious issues going on physically. And while they were in there, they ended up putting him on a ventilator. And we know that from what the doctors are telling us on the front lines, that these ventilators are causing a lot of other challenges. And most of the people, majority of the people that get on those ventilators don't come off of them. And that's why they've had to start putting people face down on the ventilators instead of face up, and all these other challenges, because it's not really an oxygenation. Their lungs aren't really the problem, right? But it ends up becoming a problem. And they ended up losing this family member in the hospital. And it's so disheartening. And, we started asking questions, and they said, yeah, they had these underlying issues, but they were also very overweight. They didn't really take care of their health for a long period of time. And now, they were frightened, right? And they were in their homes. They were locked up in their homes. They didn't go out at all. They never left their home, right? And all of this began to happen. So it becomes a tragic moment. And you hear these stories, and they're real, right? They're real. And people don't know what to do when they're in them, Dr. Stu. They just don't know what to do. And I know that you have a dear friend of yours that works in one of the major hospitals that deals with COVID-19 on a high level, right? So why don't you talk into that a bit?
Yeah, it's pretty devastating what she's seeing there in the hospital. She's in the ninth biggest COVID treating hospital in the world. And she told me that they were losing 80% of the patients on the ventilators. Once they go on, they weren't coming off. And she was actually reaching out to me to, find, because she's an out of the box thinker. What else can we do to help these patients? Because what we're doing isn't working.
Yeah.
And, so she's been looking into other options that could be helpful. And actually, they want to do a research study with chiropractic to see how chiropractic can help boost the immune system on these patients and help remove stress, help increase lung capacity. So, which some studies have already shown chiropractic can help. So the big picture here is when we see this devastation and people dying, we really need to start to do everything in our power to stay healthy so we don't become one of those statistics. Yeah. Either one of those statistics that is going to die directly from COVID, or one of the statistics that's going to die from the lockdown and quarantine that we have, because the deaths have skyrocketed from suicide, from heart attacks, from depression, from abuse, from stress. So I started a hashtag last month, hashtag all deaths matter, because, people are dying in droves from the lockdown. They're not getting sunshine and fresh air. They're not eating fresh, healthy food. They're, I heard at one of President Trump's conferences, around his conference table, where he brought in COVID survivors to talk about their experience. And it was a 34-year-old that was there that had some mild COVID symptoms. He had, a little fever, a little shortness of breath, and some body aches, nothing more than a cold or a mild flu, as, most people get with COVID. But then once he got tested for COVID and found out he was positive, then he immediately started getting anxiety, and that anxiety made his breathing worse and his condition worsened because of the anxiety, thinking that he had COVID than what he would have had before. So the big picture here is we have to do everything in our power to take back our health and our freedom. So your number one is make sure your spine and nervous system is working healthy. Number two is you got to eat the right foods. And Dr. Sahoury, you're one of the leading experts in helping and coaching people and providing them the proper information so they can nourish themselves and get out of the diabetes statistics and the metabolic syndrome, so they won't be vulnerable to these types of
that's right
situations. And also sunshine and increasing your vitamin D is important, and exercise and being around people and touch. I have to admit this. I hope the authorities or Big Brother isn't listening, but a couple of days ago I was in public and I was in a place of business, and I actually shook someone's hand, with no gloves on. And I was like, it struck me for a minute. I'm like, it was very nice. It was nice to be able to shake somebody's hand. It actually had an impression on me. And, so people are missing that touch and that connection with other people, which is so important. So it's time for us to take back our health and take back our country.
That's right. We need to, that's absolutely right. Right. So we need to start changing that conversation from the strength of the virus to the strength of the host. And look, we're having an economic challenge right now, a big time economic challenge. People are financially being affected as well. Right. And it's time to get this country back up and doing what it needs to do. That's right. I mean, I also know many people who have, got COVID-19 that didn't even know that they had it, that they're walking around, that they're doing completely, they're doing incredible. Like, I didn't even know I got tested and I had it. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. Let me jump in and say one thing to piggyback on what you just said. The number one medical statistician in the world, from Stanford University, an esteemed medical doctor, just completed a study that showed that the prevalence of COVID in the communities was 50 to 85 times more than they thought. So more people are being exposed to COVID and don't even know they have it. So, I have another hashtag, you only fear what the media tells you to fear. So stay away from listening to all of the fear and, the death counts and all of that, and get back to what Dr. Roger was saying about, strengthening the host and, empowering yourself.
So let's talk about that for a second. So, when we talk about strengthening the host, we talk about, look, if you have stress on your body physically, right? Well, let's say that here you're on computers right now, and you're on a computer all the time, and your posture goes forward, and you're like this. Well, what happens? You start to tighten up, right? Tightening up everywhere. As you begin to tighten up, why is that beginning to happen? So we have these nerves that come down our spinal cord, that come right out of our spinal cord, and they run to these muscles, right? Well, if we begin to create what we call subluxations, interference, choking off the life expression that's running through there, these muscles will begin to tighten up. But those same nerves that run to muscles also run to vital organs like your heart, your lungs, right? Your liver, your gallbladder, your intestines, so on, right? So throughout your body, there are different segments in your spine that send this life, intelligence, and wisdom to all these areas. Last thing we want to do is see our body physically get stressed. If we do, and we don't take care of it, stressors, period, any stressors, because if you have a physical stress, is that going to affect your sleep? The answer is yes. And we know that 100%, they say that sleep and immunity are linked together, right? So if we got a physical stress and it begins to affect our sleep patterns, can that affect our immune system? Yes. If our body's in what we call sympathetic overdrive, a fight or flight response, because we're so tight, and here we are, now we have this physical response, now we become more irritable, and now we have an emotional stress going on, and we may react instead of respond to certain situations. Now what happens is you got your body in that sympathetic overdrive, you're causing those adrenal glands to continuously work, and now we create what we call adrenal fatigue as well, can happen, right? Now you tend to do what? You may tend to turn to the wrong foods, and now you start to pollute your body with the wrong foods, and now we create havoc chemically. So now we have physical, chemical, emotional stressors. You combine those two together, that is right there, that is a time bomb for our immunity. It's a time bomb for our immunity. So if you want to begin to have a body that's strong and healthy, you got to take care of it physically, chemically, emotionally, apply rituals, get rid of bad habits, adopt better habits, get into a rhythm right now, right? And then let's work on getting healthier and stronger in all aspects of our life. And if it's a challenging situation, this is where you have to reach out to doctors like myself and Dr. Werner. This is where you have to begin say, all right, I need to take care of me. I got to take care of my family. I was just on the phone with another doctor prior to this conversation, and he was telling me how stressed he is. He's like, I am beyond stressed. And I go, how do you know? He goes, because I'm blowing up on my family. I'm like, what? He's like, man, I'm losing my cool. He's like, I'm snapping, I'm edgy, He's like, I got financial distress going on. My body's physically stressed. I'm doing the wrong things. I'm putting the wrong foods in my mouth. Like, I know that stress makes me more susceptible. I know that stress breaks down my body. I teach this to people, but I'm doing it. And if he's doing it, are you doing it? Is somebody that you know doing it? Because if they are, those are the people that you need to send to these lives that we do. These are the people that you need to send over so we can have a telehealth, conference, session with them. That's what we're here for. We're here to continuously pour love into people. This isn't a time where we're out there going, hey, let's go recruit, more patients. Let's go. No, we're not doing that. We're here as doctors and professionals to give back to the community and love on you at all times of life, And I ask you to lean on me. Dr. Werner asks you to lean on him. He's a pediatric expert, right? We work with tons of pediatrics as well in our location. If you're in North Jersey, bring your family to us. If you're in South Jersey, in the Point Pleasant area, bring your family to Dr. Stu. I've referred many to him, and they're extremely happy with his care and Dr. Terry's care because he's exceptional at what he does, and he's got a lot of love in his heart. And it's because it's always first, let's take a look at the system that controls every other system of your being. And that's your nervous system. That's how God created you, right? Created you with your brain and your spinal cord are the first two things that you were created with that gave you life. So we must take great care of that. And we got to take great care of that suit of armor, our spine, and not let it break down, not let it degenerate, not let it decay, not, wait till something feels a certain way, because you can't base your health on how you look or how you feel, because we've all heard of the person who looks great, feels great. Next thing what happens? They have a heart attack. You've heard of the person who looks great, feels great, and all of a sudden develops cancer. Well, we got to begin to take a look at a body as a whole, and that's what we do. Okay, that's what we do. So I'm going to invite you to anybody who does want to have a telehealth conference with myself. Here's the way to do that. And if anybody wants to have it with Dr. Stu, I will show you exactly how to do that as well when you text me, and we can set that up because, look, I may not be able to handle everybody, right? Dr. Stu steps in, he supports me. I support him with a team of doctors. But that's what you do. You just you call, or you can text 201-265-0555 and just put the word schedule, and then we'll know it's for a telehealth conference. All right, Dr. Stu, when we talk about some sleeping tips, what kind of sleeping tips would you give patients? And then I'll add onto that.
Well, number one is, you already touched upon, is we got to remove stress from the body. So chiropractic adjustments remove stress. It shifts the body from the sympathetic override to a parasympathetic healing response. So it allows your body to be able to relax more and heal more. So that's very important. Another good tip is not to eat anything 3 hours before you're going to go to bed, because the digestive system is a very energy consuming system, and you don't want to be doing that while you're trying to fall to sleep.
Very true.
Another tip is get rid of all the electronics an hour before you go to bed, and just let your body start to come off of that. And if you have a trouble putting that aside for a little bit, you have other issues to deal with. Another important aspect of getting a good night's sleep is you need to have a completely dark room. So make sure that you have all the lights on your alarm clocks or any cable boxes. Make sure those lights are covered so that you have complete darkness in the room, and that's very important.
That's right. And setting that temperature, right? So lowering that temperature down 2 to 3 degrees prior to bed. That's another one. Adding to that as well would be to set the tone. So begin to dim those lights 2 hours prior to bed, right? Have dark out blinds in your room. That's another great thing. Use lavender oil, essential lavender oil. You can take a bath and add some lavender oil in there. Take a nice little warm bath prior to bed. I like to write down in a joy journal, like a moment of gratitude before bed. So you have a moment that you end with that is positive. If there's anything that's renting space in your head that you need to complete tomorrow, that's a big task that just keeps running in your mind. Write it down. So when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to tackle that. Calm breathing exercises right before bed are very powerful, like a box breath, where you can breathe in on a 4-second count, hold your breath in for 4 seconds, breathe out on a 4-second count, and hold your breath out on a 4-second count, and then do that 4 times. That's another thing that you could begin to do. If you have a partner in life that's next to you, tell them that you love them, right? Give them a hug, give them a kiss. Love making is always great too, to relax your body. Some people are probably giggling right now that I said that, but it's true. It's science, right? It's a fact. And it's also great for immune boosting, right? These are the type of things. And have rituals planned out for the next morning that you're going to absolutely accomplish when you wake up, right? These are things that are great to begin to do. And that'll also help with immunity. Right. So
one of the common things that keeps people up at night too is indigestion or reflux. So if they're on a proper diet, like the Sprint Set system, then they won't have many of those problems keeping them up. And also, you touched upon it there, I want to piggyback on, is, I think the two most underappreciated strategies to produce optimum health is sleep. When you miss a couple of nights sleep or you don't get a good night's sleep, that lowers your immune system, and that there's hormones that are released during sleep that will negatively affect your health and your weight if you don't get proper sleep. And the second is what you mentioned about breathing. Many people don't know how to breathe and to breathe fully, and to do some meditation, prayer, some breathing exercises, because there's a whole science behind that called contemplative science. The way you breathe actually affects your brain chemistry. So besides having like a good sprint set, meal plan, having proper breathing exercises, and also what was the other thing I said about sleep, breathing, and
you're talking about sleep. You're talking about indigestion, so making sure that you're eating right. You're talking about breathing and meditating. You're talking about prayer, right? Which are all incredible things that we need to begin to do. And he is spot on. What we teach, and one of the components in the sprint set system is that, look, right? You want to eat, in a window, right? And you want to eat in a window utilizing intermittent fasting, which we know that there's so much science that backs it up. So let's say that you're eating between 11 and 7, 10 and 6, 12 and 8, that's it. But you want to give your body time to digest the food so you can go to bed, all right, with an empty stomach, not a full. Also, you want to hydrate your body, but you don't want to be drinking too late either, because you don't want to stay up at night, getting up in the middle of the night to having to go to the bathroom, right? So, we want to cut off our drinking time as well by a certain time, right? And when we begin to eat our meals, there's a specific way that you want to eat, and we'll teach you that. Anybody who's interested in sprints, that we don't have the time to go through those type of things right now, but we can absolutely set up a telehealth conference, and I'm happy to go over some stuff, with you guys, right, and see how we can best support you in any way. All right. So this is all great stuff, right? So if you like that, let me just see some thumbs up. Let me see some hearts. Let us feel your love a little bit. Hit the share button with somebody that you actually care about. These things are important. And letting others put a comment. I see Jessica put a comment. Wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing information. Thank you, Jessica, coming all the way from Ontario. So, we're just so happy that you're here. Anna, thank you that you're enjoying this information. I'm getting another wow there. This is great. If you have any questions, post it right now. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer, just post it right now. And Dr. Stu and myself would be happy to answer your questions, because we are winding down on time. We don't have a ton of time left. So let's, any questions that you may have, please post them right now, and we will absolutely get into it. We'll absolutely get into that for you. Dr. Stu, is there anything on your mind, that you're thinking about? Because what I'm thinking about right now is giving people some rituals that, they can begin to do during the day, right? So, hi, Andrea. This is great. We're happy that you're enjoying this, right? If you have any questions, please post them, all right? And we will happy to jump in and give it to you. But something that I love to do, Dr. Stu, is a morning ritual where I get up in the morning and I pray. So that's important for me, right? And we're gonna end this tonight with a prayer that I love to do with all my guests, okay? But I love to pray. I love to do affirmations. I love to do breathing in the morning. I love to do movements, right? And I love to do yoga movements, and I also love to do some physical exercising, right? And that'll vary day to day. God is an important part of my life. What I love to do early in the morning is I love to go for a walk. And I walk throughout my neighborhood, and I really enjoy it. And I go down after I do my walk. I like to go down by like this little river, and I like to hang out. And I love to watch the water flow. And it reminds me so much when I look at the water and I look at the rocks and I watch the water going through the rocks, over the rocks, under the rocks, maybe pushing some rocks a little bit from side to side. And I'm like, this reminds me of when we go through life, that there could be some challenging times, but we're like that water that can find its way to its destination or its journey. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy listening to the birds. I enjoy feeling the wind on my face. I enjoy connecting with nature. Sometimes, recently, grass has been starting to get cut, smelling that grass, right? Watching flowers and trees bloom. Beautiful, right? Just connecting. And then going back to that river with the water and the rocks, my beautiful wife, Christina, which I always give a kiss in the morning to, and my kid, they don't necessarily feel it, right? But I do it before I go downstairs because it's so early in the morning. And then Christina was saying to me, I said, I was giving her the talking about the water, and she said to me, "Well, honey, how about if we talk about, other than it being the water, how about if you are the rock, and that water isn't able to push you, isn't able to knock you over, and you're that rock, you're steady no matter what comes your way and how much volumes of water come your way, because you're so strong because God created you to be so strong that you have the ability to resist all that comes your way." Because the truth is that and I was like, aha, right? But the truth is every single day, every one of you that's listening, I know I can speak for myself, and I believe I can speak for you as well, Dr. Stu, that we all get challenges thrown our way. Every one of us. Every day there's something new. And we just learn on how to begin to adapt to these stressors. Now, sometimes we allow ourselves to get into a state where we get anxious or we get fearful. But this is where I say, if you're in that state, strengthen your faith. And if you've lost faith, find it. And if you need help with that, I'm here. Dr. Stu's here, right? Because when faith is high, fear doesn't exist. And when fear is high, where is faith? So let's work on strengthening that. And as we begin to do that, you become the rock and you become the water, because God is the rock and God is the water. And that's so powerful right there, because both of what my wife and I said, we're both in complete alignment. And anybody who's on here right now, please stay on until I finish, because in just a few minutes, we're going to do a really powerful prayer. I want you to be there. So Dr. Stu, you could please add to that if there's anything that you'd like to add to that.
No, what you said was very inspiring. And, you can contrast that if you wake up in the morning and, start diving into your emails and getting all negative and sidetracked, or, getting in, technology and all of that. So, you're setting up the morning to gain momentum and to set the stage for the rest of your day. And, so that's so important what you said in the morning. And, it's so important that we do set the stage and we control where our mind goes in what we do, because there's so much fear out there and anxiety in the media. And, help quell some of that. And, you were talking about COVID-19 is, to give people a little more confidence. I want to let them know, piggybacking a little bit on, we don't have a virus problem. We have an immune system problem, because germs and viruses and bacteria don't cause disease. And that's what we're taught, to fear the viruses and the bacteria, because really what viruses are opportunistic vectors waiting for a susceptible host.
Yeah.
Let me give you 2 examples. If you have a daycare setting with like 25 or 30 kids, the kids are all playing with the same toys and breathing on each other, and their fluids are being, distributed on the toys, and are touching their nose and their face. And, why in that type of setting, only 3 or 4 of them might get sick on a given time period and the other 25 don't? Yeah. If viruses and bacteria cause disease, all of them would be sick. So it's only the ones with weakened immune systems and immune depressed that will succumb to the illness. Or another example is if you're in an adult workplace and people are touching the same doorknobs and passing papers around and in close proximity in meetings, why only a few of them get sick being exposed to the same germs and everyone else doesn't?
Yeah.
So because viruses and bacteria don't cause disease. So,
and we have trillions of viruses every day that we're dealing with, that our body deals with. And we have trillions of bacteria that our bodies deal with every single day. But God gave us this innate immune system. He gave us this adaptive immune system. He gave us this interferon system. He gave you your microbiome. He gave you your virome. He gave you your neural immunity system. He's created this incredible vessel, this incredible temple for you to be able to live with these organisms and these viruses and the bacteria that have been living here prior to us.
Absolutely. COVID-19 isn't special. You could take a throat culture of everyone in this country and you would have millions of germs and viruses and bacteria that live in harmony with you. So you're not sick because you have germs and viruses on you. Yeah. But if you have a poor lifestyle, you're not making good choices, and your immune system is weaker, then you're susceptible to everything. So that's what Dr. Sahoury is emphasizing here, is we really need to strengthen our host so that we can go through our life and in our environment with confidence and live without fear and live the way God intended us to live.
That's right. And look, we are sensitive for the people that do have family members who are, immunocompromised. I have a dear family friend who has a child who's immunocompromised. So I get it. Right. And I always pray for that family, and it's not the card or the deck that they ask for with their child. Right. So we get it. Right. And of course we want to be safe and protected for them as well. But, for the majority of people, the masses, locking down the state forever is not going to be a solution, or wearing masks forever isn't going to be a solution. It's about building your host and building your body. On that note, I am going to ask you to please hit the share button right now, as we are going to do a prayer. So I'm going to ask you to please hit that share button right now. Please hit the share button right now. We're going to end this. We're going to end this with a prayer right this second. Dr. Stu, will you join me in this prayer, please?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Pray with me. Dear God, today we put on the full armor to guard our lives against attack. We put on the belt of truth to protect against lies and deception. We put on the breastplate of righteousness to protect our hearts from the temptations we battle. We put the gospel of peace on our feet, so we are ready to take your light wherever you send us this day. We choose to walk in peace and freedom of your spirit, and not be overcome with the fear and anxious thoughts that are happening today in this pandemic. We take up your shield of faith, God, so that you will extinguish all the darts and threats hurled our way by the enemy. We believe in your power to protect us and choose to trust in you. We put on the helmet of salvation, which covers our minds and our thoughts, reminding us we are the children of the day, forgiven, set free, saved by the grace of you, Lord. We take up the sword of the Spirit, for your very word, the one offensive weapon given to us for the battle, which has the power to demolish strongholds, alive, active, and sharper than any double-edged sword, Lord. We ask for your help in remembering to put on your full armor every day, for you give us all that we need, Lord, to stand firm in this world. Forgive us, God, for the times that we have been unprepared, too busy to care, or trying to fight and wrestle in our own strength. Thank you, Lord, that you are always by our side, and that we never fight alone, for you are consistently at work on our behalf, shielding, protecting, strengthening, and exposing deeds of darkness, bringing to light what needs to be known, which you have allowed us today to do in your name, Lord. You are covering us from the cruel attacks we face, even when we are unaware. In your powerful name, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for your time today, Dr. Stu.
My
Really
pleasure.
appreciate you, brother. You are, making a stand to protect families around the globe and just bring some light to people and letting people know their choices and teaching them rituals, along with myself and many other people in the profession of health and wellness. And we continually pray for all of you and the doctors and the nurses on the front lines. We pray for the people who are immunocompromised. We pray for the people with metabolic syndrome. We pray for the people who are blinded to what is happening in the world, or the people who are not taking their health seriously. And what I mean by that is focusing on promoting their health and doing the right things, and not just living in this prevention model, but let's start living in this promotion of health model. So thank you again today for your time, Dr. Stu. Thank you all of the listeners who've been on here. Tomorrow I will be doing another live, so please share that tomorrow. We're really going to be diving deep into metabolic syndrome, and I am going to be bringing on another expert who is on our Sprint Set team, Dr. Don Klum. All right. God bless you all. Thank you, Dr. Stu, for all you do. I think, let me just make sure we don't have any questions. Nope, we just got amens here. So amen. God bless everybody, and we'll see you soon.